Well, here's a grungy tape deck, Yamaha KX30DU. It looks like 30DU, 300U, KX300U, and hasn't been turned on in many years. And I've come to the conclusion that I don't have a tape deck to play a tape in the house, so I dug this out of the storage unit, and we're going to see if we can get it to work again. It worked perfectly when I put it away, but it's been through a lot of hot summers and cold winters in a storage unit, and who knows? I'm not even going to try to turn it on for fear that the belts or something are bad and it'll just grime everything up. So I'm going to look at that first before we do anything. So let's crack it open and see what we got. Alright, as we can see, this is not too bad looking. The belts are bad. They're stretched and they're turned into goo. So I don't dare turn this thing on, or it'll just spin all those belts around and just ruin everything. I'm not sure what all these white dots are. Some of them wipe off, some of them don't. But all the circuitry looks to be in fine condition, and I think we should be able to fix this right up. Tape transport looks like it'll be pretty easy to remove, and it's got two motors that I can see. So we're gonna have to look and check all these belts, check everything out, clean it up, put it back together, and then turn it on, see what it does. So let's get this apart and take a look. Okay, to get this apart really couldn't be any simpler. Let me pull up here so you can really see on it. Move this down. So basically all we're going to do here is we had two screws right here and here, and two screws right here and here, and two screws right here and here that come out. So a total of 6 screws. The tape door just kind of latches in. Just slide that up off, take it off. We had 3 connectors. And let me get back up a little bit. 3 connectors here, and they plug into the back. A couple of tie wraps, and the tape heads disconnect here like that. Simple as could be. And lo and behold, everything should come right out. And there it is. One tape transport. Now again, this wasn't the highest end tape deck, but it was a good one. It has, the reason I really like it is it has Dolby B, Dolby C, and HX Pro, which really worked really well. So I'm kind of looking forward to getting this back in working order again. When I took the belt off of the tape counter, you can see what I'm talking about on this. It is just, it's not even rubber anymore, it's just like melted glue. And the more you pull on it, the more it just sticks to everything. So you have to be really careful with that stuff. It'll glue itself, and it's really hard to take off. If it's a non-plastic gear, like a metal gear, metal pulley you're taking it off of, sometimes you can use a cotton swab soaked in acetone, you know, like a nail polish remover, to get rid of it. But you have to be really careful with that, because if you have plastic gears and plastic in there, that acetone will eat the plastic too. So you got to be kind of careful. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to open this up, clean it, and we're going to get into the where the belts are. I can see the main belt. I think if you look right here, the main belt is a wide belt. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's really hard to focus in on. See it right there? And it is a wide flat belt, and it's actually still intact, although I don't think, you know, it's going to need replaced. And other than that, so far, that is the only belt that I see in here. Everything else looks to be direct drive, which might be really good news because I just did a little Sony boombox with a double cassette, and it had a little two plastic gears with idler tires on them, and they were shot, and there's no way you can get them out. So pretty much that was pretty much an EOL for that one. So let's get this apart. I'm gonna have to order a belt, and then once I do, I'll come back and we'll assemble it, put the new belt on, clean the transport real carefully, make sure everything's moving good, and then put it back in, and we'll be ready for some tests. Alright, we're back, and it's not as terrible as I thought. I got the belt out, and to do that, this little assembly just kind of fits right on here with a couple of screws. So it came right out. This belt, this flat belt, was actually in relatively good shape, so I just treated it with some of this rubber renew, which really smells bad, but it does work. It does a good job. And you can see this belt's in really good shape. It's not really stretched, and I think it will be okay. So I'm going to put this back on. Now, the counter belt for the little tape counter, that was a different story. It turned to goo. I had to order one, and I found a package of 100 different cassette belts for about the same price as I could just buy a single belt with shipping from a big box, like MCM Electronics. So that's going to take a while to come in, obviously, from eBay, but when it does, it's an easy fix. Basically, all you do is there is one screw that comes out here and one little pin that pops out here. This flips forward, and you can do this all from the front. And right there, the belt goes around there, it comes out, and it just goes up here to the counter, to the little counter wheel. So that'll be an easy thing we can do after the fact. So I'm going to put this belt back on and put this back together, clean the tape head, clean the pinch roller a little bit here, and give it just a general dusting, put it back together, and we should be ready to at least test it. So we're all reassembled now. Got the tape head clean, put some rubber renew on the pinch roller, clean the inside a little bit. Got the belt on, which is a little bit of a trick. You basically have to put this thing together, and the way I do it, believe it or not, is I use a soldering tool. Let me get it out here. So I use one of these soldering tools. You can buy these at Radio Shack in a little set. They're cheap. And it's just got a hook on one side and a little curve on this side. And you reach in through here, you get the belt kind of over the motor pulley first. Then you can actually go in through here, and you just kind of lift the belt and kind of guide it onto here, and then kind of roll it around until it goes all the way around the idler wheel and connects on. It takes a little bit of practice, but if you fiddle with it and stay patient, it'll go on. I don't know, there may be an easier way to do it, but that's how I was able to get it on there. So it's kind of tricky, kind of like doing surgery. So we're all put together, and we're going to put this in, and then we're going to see how everything works. Again, this is not a super old. I mean, I guess it's from the, it's probably from the late 80s, early 90s. So I wouldn't anticipate any problems with any of the components inside. This thing has very low usage on it. I bought it brand new, used it a little while, and then went to college, moved out, all those things, and it just kind of went into storage. So very low usage on it. So I would anticipate everything's perfect on it. And we'll talk a little. I don't have a service manual for this, unfortunately. So really, to be able to talk about some of the adjustments, when you're dealing with Dolby, and when you're dealing with different types of tape, the metal tape, the chrome tape. They all have different frequency responses, and the circuitry is adjustable for the bias for each one of those, because the way the tape head reacts with the different types of tape, you have to adjust. There's circuitry in here that you can adjust so that it will track properly with frequency response and so forth. Maybe we'll get a little more into that if I find a manual how this works. But usually that's something that never drifts, or, where you have to readjust any of the adjustments. It's kind of like aligning the IF stage of a radio. Once it's in, and unless something fails, it usually won't go out of adjustment. And we didn't replace the tape head or anything like that, so we shouldn't have to mess with that. The alignment as well, I've never touched it. Basically, there's a little set screw down here you use to adjust the tape head in and out. Again, there is a procedure for that and so forth. I don't have it for this one. A lot of people will just get a commercially recorded cassette that's a known good one, and they'll basically just adjust this while the tape is playing for the best optimal sound and optimal stereo separation. Now, of course, audiophiles are cringing at that right now as I say it, but if you don't have the procedure and you don't have the right test equipment, you don't have the correct sort of equipment to measure the wow and flutter and measure the frequency response and measure this, that, and the other thing, that's really the only option you have if it moves. But I would argue that this never should move. You should never touch it. It's factory set. If it worked before, it'll work again. And unless you had to replace the tape head or service it, this shouldn't go out. As you can see, they put glue, nail polish, whatever you want to call it, on the screw to indicate that it's factory set and it's locked in. Okay, so basically that's how all this works. So let's put it together, and definitely I can feel that these pots are just grimed up really bad, so I'm going to clean them really well, put everything together, and then put a tape in and see if we can, if I can even find a cassette anymore, and see if it plays. We're all back assembled now, and I'm getting ready to put the top back on. As you can see, we got everything screwed back in. I adjusted the damping a little bit to give this a little bit, it was really flying out there, and it's because the dampening needed adjusted a little bit. It's probably the oil's drying out in it or whatever. So we're all set. I'm going to put the top on it. I'm going to clean up. I even dug up the remote I still have. I'm going to clean that up, put some fresh batteries in it, and we're going to test it out. Okay, I just cleaned up this remote, and I just want to show you a little trick. Maybe you guys have seen this or know about this, but for those of you who don't, put a fresh set of batteries in this, but we don't know if it's working or not. And I'm going to show you a real easy way to test it. So basically you aim this right at the lens, and you hit one of the buttons, and if you look right in the center, see how it's kind of flashing? See it? See how it flickers? These cameras can actually see into the infrared spectrum. So that's how quick and dirty way to check and see if it's working. Even your camera phone will do the same thing if you use the camera on your cell phone. Alright, so I got the top cleaned up here, and I'm going to put it on, and we're going to test it out. Okay, I've just opened a brand new tape here, and this is definitely they call it a high output audio cassette. I bought it at Walmart, and it was just your cheap $3 normal. It's not chrome, it's not metal, so I don't anticipate it to have the greatest performance on earth, but at least it's a new fresh tape. And I used to have so many tapes, all different kinds, and I'm sure I still have a lot of them somewhere stored away, but it's been a long time, and who knows. So what we're going to do is I have the signal generator set up for what is going to end up being the most boring song in the world. It's basically what I'm going to do is, number one, I don't want to mess around with copyright things with YouTube. So we're just going to record some different sine waves and at different frequencies, and we're going to use normal Dolby B and Dolby C encoding to see the difference of them, and to see if on the oscilloscope we can, or at first in the sound, if we can actually hear the difference. Okay, so we're going to try that out, and I've not tried this yet. I don't even know if this thing's going to play, but we'll see what we get, and once I get all set up and get everything set up, we'll go from there. So let's turn this around. We're all hooked up, and if you look, I have the record level set just above 0 dB, and if you look up here, I am feeding a signal into there, and I should probably drop the amplitude down a little bit on this. So let's go to 500 millivolts RMS, like that, and line these guys up, and let's go down here, and let's bring everything up till it just gets up there. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to hit the record, and we're going to record this a little bit. I'm going to start with 1 kilohertz, which is going to be a pretty horrible sound. Okay, I'm going to pause that. Then we're going to go to, let's try 5 kilohertz. Hold on a second. Frequency 5 kilohertz. Okay. And I'm going to record that. Just for a few seconds. Okay. And then we're going to try 10 kilohertz. And we're going to record that. Isn't this exciting? Okay. Now we're going to turn on Dolby B, just like that. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back down to 1 kilohertz. We're going to record it. And we're going to go to 5 kilohertz. And record it. And to 10 kilohertz. And I'm going to do the same thing with Dolby C, and then I'm going to do the same thing with Dolby C with multiplex. Okay, I'm not going to do Dolby B with multiplex. It's going to be, that's too much. So as soon as we do that, I'll be back. Okay, I finished all the recordings, and one of the problems is down here in the shop, the air conditioning is running, the fans are blowing, it's very loud. So this microphone in this, in the video recorder is just probably not going to pick up what's going on. But let me describe to you what I found, and that is all of the situations, which is with no noise reduction, with Dolby B, with Dolby C, and with Dolby C multiplex. All 4 situations with this cheap tape, there was a lot of hiss. And when, especially at the 10 kilohertz, there was a good bit of drop off that, you know, it was noticeable in the VU meters, and it was noticeable audibly. So 10 kilohertz is kind of a cutoff point, you know, where it starts to roll off on these cheap tapes. And undoubtedly, when you get into the chrome and the metal tapes, that's why you spend so much more money for the better tapes, is because at the higher frequencies they perform so much better. The one thing I did notice is, I'll play it a little bit here. Let me just start by playing the no noise reduction, and I'll skip to the DBX Dolby C and let you kind of hear a little bit what I heard. Okay, so here's the first one. This is with no noise reduction. And it's bad, so if you're wearing headphones, be careful. You can see already we have a little drop off on our VUs. And hear how much hiss is in that? And you can see at the 10 kilohertz it really drops off. And then when I get over to this one, I'll come back on and let you listen to that. Okay, so here we are now with Dolby C. This was encoded with Dolby C and multiplex on. You can hear it is a little clearer. We are getting a little bit of you can see we're a lot closer to the original recording level, but wait till we get to you can hear a lot of hiss still. And there's a ton of hiss there. And you can hear how it kind of warbles a little bit. So now let's try to hook it up, and let's look at what it looks like on the oscilloscope. Okay, for reference right now, I have the oscilloscope connected to the signal generator. So if you look, this is what 1 kilohertz looks like. Alright, let's switch this over here. That is what 5 kilohertz looks like. And that is what 10 kilohertz looks like, just for reference, give you an idea. Alright, now I'm going to switch over to the output of the tape, and we're going to take a look at that. Okay, now we're going to look at all three with the Dolby on. Okay, so here's the first one with no noise reduction at all. Okay. And you can see there's your wow and flutter. Alright, sorry I had to take a call. That was for work, so I had to stop here, but let's continue on. Alright, and you can see the amplitude is going down as you go higher frequency. Alright, here's Dolby B, and I have B turned on right now. Okay, now here's Dolby C without multiplex coming up. There we go. And you can see it gets a little bit more stable, not a lot. And next comes multiplex Dolby C. One kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, and 10 coming up. And you can see how much the amplitude drops off on this as well as you go up in frequency. And that's a property of the tape also. But this gives you an idea. Even a fairly decent tape deck that's just been cleaned up and redone can have quite a bit of wow and flutter unless you get into, you know, a really, really high-end deck. Although there are some out there that can do a pretty good job. And the other thing is the low quality tape. This was very cheap, couple dollar tape. There were cassettes back in the day, the metal ones, the real high-end metal ones, you can pay upwards of 10, 12 bucks for one tape. And they did make a big difference. They sounded a lot better. They had better high frequency response. You would have seen the 10 kilohertz would have been more on par with the amplitude of the 1 kilohertz. But I thought this would be something interesting for you to see how this works and how tapes used to sound. This is why vinyl, you know, records just blow tape away. You know, a record has so much more bandwidth and dynamic range than a cassette, unless you're talking about the latest, you know, end of the cassette era, where we're getting into the DBX encoded cassettes and the metal tapes, all this special stuff. Then they were starting to rival that of a record player. But nothing really can beat a phonograph, in my opinion. It just has a warm sound. It just sounds real. You know, digital, you know, no matter what frequency you record it, you know, what your sample rate is, digital just never sounds the same. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. I don't know if there's a whole lot to learn or not, but it was interesting for me at least. And give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and more to come later. Thank you.